Hi there, this is Diecast channel, and in this video I'm going to show you this 1970 Oldsmobile Cutlass 442 W-30 made in a 1/218 scale by Lane Exact Detail. If you like those muscle cars, stay with me to the end of this video because this car is really worth seeing. And also don't forget to subscribe my channel, to give me a thumbs up, and to click the bell for news. So let's go on. And here we have the Olds with a W-30 kit, which gave more performance to the car. This car has got the inner fender skirts made in reinforced plastic and a hood made in fiberglass. So this was for more performance and a 455 cubic inch engine. First thing we notice in the front of this car is this dual grille with the headlights, which are very realistic. The grille is not exactly a grille, but a very well-made mesh. The bumper is also very well made. It has no fleshings at all, no issues, and it's very well respected in its details. The directional lights are also very well reproduced, and the engine bay is also very well made. This hood is supposed to be made in fiberglass to make the car a little bit lighter, and the engine is a 455 cubic inch. Look at the hood, which is very well made. The hinges are not the realistic spring system hinges we have in Highway 61, for instance, but it's still very well made. And the engine, which is made in blue, just like the other Oldsmobiles. We have the brake master cylinder, the air filter, the cables, the wires, the hoses are actually made in rubber, which makes them even more realistic than the other hoses that are made in plastic. The alternator, a radiator, a washing reservoir, and all lines, cables, wires, a battery with the terminals, the Delco battery, which is very well reproduced, in the engine bay itself, which is very realistic as a whole. As we can see, the car is very well taken care of. The hood shuts correctly, and it's got those two auxiliary locks. They're actually like knobs instead of having those clips, just like we find in the Dodges and the models made by Highway 61. And it really reproduces well. It looks like the locks we find in the Mustang. And the two air scoops, the air intakes, that are very well reproduced and were designed for a better performance in this car. Lane Exact Detail hasn't made hinges like the ones Highway 61 makes, so these hinges are pretty much more like the simpler models, but they're still very well made since they're made in black. They are not so apparent like those ones. Sometimes some diecast manufacturers make some hinges which are very thick and really turned up being very ugly and not realistic at all. These hinges are not exactly realistic as those ones we find in real cars, but still very delicate and do not show as much as the hinges we find from different brands. The steering wheel with the 4 spokes is typical of the 1970s Olds, and it really looks very nice. And we have the shifter, the floor on the floor, which is one of the floors of the 442 Oldsmobile Cutlass. We have some factory stickers right here on the door. The trim around the windows, it's all made in separate pieces instead of decals. They're actual chrome trims made in plastic. The dashboard is very realistic with the gauges, realistic stickers, and the wood grain pattern material. The trim around the dashboard and the air outlets, the pedals, the seats that actually tilt and tilt correctly. Those black stripes, the wheels and tires, all details in this car are perfect. The mirror is very well made. The interior is very well taken care of. Headliner and a dome light, sun visors, dashboard, glove compartment, gear lever, seats, and a back seat. The door shuts correctly as we can see. There are no misalignments, no gaps, no issues at all. The trim is very well aligned. The lines of the car are very nice. And the wheels and tires really look outstanding. One more look at the interior. Central console is more visible now, and dashboard we can see from a different angle with the air outlets, glove compartment lid, and the seats, which tilt. Chrome trim around the seats is also very well made and looks very nice. As we can see, the door shuts correctly, and we have the 442 with the W-30 logos on the side. There are no misalignments at all. We just see a slight misalignment in the trim around the windows, the lower trim, but I think this is because of the trim itself, not because of the door, since the door is very well aligned, very accurate. The handle and lock are also very well made, and we can see the correct alignment of the hood. That's the design of the rear for 1970 with a couple vertical taillights. That 1971 I've shown before has horizontal taillights, but the lines of the bumper are basically the same. This bumper has no flashings, no issues at all. We find a dual exhaust with the exhaust tips, which are very well made. The reverse lights, which are very close to the license plate, and a spare tire in the trunk. And the trunk is also pretty well made. It's all made in black inside, but it's not just a black plastic, but with a pretty well made texture that resembles this kind of texture we find in real cars. The trunk lid is also very well made with a lock and a trim. And that spoiler, that's similar to the ones we found in 1970 Pontiacs. Spare tire, jack, lock, trunk lid shuts correctly. There are no issues, no misalignments, no mistakes at all. And the transparency of the rear window is very good. The base of a car was very well made. The inner front fenders are made of plastic, just like the other Olds I've shown before. This was also a feature of the W-30 Oldsmobile. The rear ones don't seem to be made of plastic. Body and chassis cars, so we can see the frame and the floor of the car. Brake lines, the engine, tranny, the drive shaft, differential, front and rear suspensions, which are actually functional, both rear and front. They have coil springs, the front wheel steer. The engine is made in a very nice color. We can see the oil filter, the exhaust manifolds, all suspension on all details, the torsion bars, dual exhaust, and the shock. The drive shaft is not that type that spins, and the gas tank is made with perfection. So I would say that this car is a very nice model car to have in a diecast car collection, especially if you like those muscle cars, those 70s muscle cars. So from 0 to 10, I would give this car a 10 with no doubts. Lane Exec Detail does a very good job at making model cars, and this Oldsmobile 442, this 1970 Oldsmobile 442, is a great example. So I'd like to thank you for all likes and views, for all subscriptions to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, to give me a thumbs up, and to click the bell for news. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.